What's going on, guys? Philip at Trade Genius. All right, Bitcoin has been testing the downside a bit here, so we're going to discuss what levels to look for on the downside, how long we can be looking at a downtrend in Bitcoin, and then go from there. So let's dive into this video.
Trade Genius.
Guys, really quickly, the boys knocked down the special number one to $2.99. So if you're looking to renew or something like that, this is a great opportunity. Normally they don't do that until like Black Friday. But they realized people aren't working as much, COVID and things like that. So they felt like this might be a good time around the holiday to do that. Again, comes with the two indicators, and our multi-series course on how to use the ribbon system works on everything. So check it out. Very economical price there for a year access to all of that. All right, Bitcoin. So if we look at Bitcoin and the price of it and what it's been doing, it's came down earlier today and made a spike low of $8,900 plus dollars, and has bounced back up. Nice little hammer on the 4 hour. Those are something to keep an eye on too for you short-term traders. When you get those nice 4 hour hammers, usually you're going to see a decent follow through on those. Now we are getting back up to the weighted moving average 65 and 20. They're kind of grouped together, which sometimes happens, and I do expect to be that to serve as resistance. Kind of going back almost to the scene of the crime where you had this liquidation break, and then it comes back down. As far as the delta goes, kind of neutral here because we're having a couple of color changes. If we get a consistent 3 continuous bars of color, then we can look to be either bullish or bearish based on that. So right now we're doing a blue color, which is bullish, but I want to see at least 2 more candle prints of that, and we'll be posting that in the room. But right now, just looking at the way that this chart is setting up, I think we're going to be more of the mind to be shorting any signs of strength right now in Bitcoin. As you can see, we did this last fib pull. We did come up, just about tagged that 50% line and rejected, came down. And if you notice on GBTC, we talked about the premium not bouncing, and that's where we're at. Premium made another low. And again, guys, this is historically low premium. This is down around 6% premium. You have to keep in mind Bitcoin, when it's pumping, sees premium of around 40%, which usually tells you that things are getting overheated and it's time to be careful about being in longs. But this is extremely, extremely low premium for historically for the price of GBTC. So normally this is a buy signal, but right now this is actually, to me, a little bearish. Tells me that there's not a lot of buy side demand right now for the price of GBTC. As you can see, the price of GBTC, which is this darker red color, has come off quite a bit, more so than the price of Bitcoin itself. So the underlying stock pressure, which I think is a little heads up too on the stock markets themselves, might be getting a little toppy here. But you'll notice that's come off quite a bit. And usually, like we talked about, usually when GBTC is getting a lot weaker than the actual underlying spot price of Bitcoin, the spot price of Bitcoin is risking a catch down move. So we may see more downside on Bitcoin as such. Now, bigger picture, if you look at the daily chart on Bitcoin, there's a couple things I want to point out. One is we're in a big balance area, which is this here, right? And it's a lot like the stock market, where it's in a balanced area, except that unlike the stock market today, Bitcoin has kind of come off the tops of that balance area. The stock market essentially came off this as well, but it's doing a little better job of being at the upper end of its balance area. But I do expect to see the stock market rotate back down, say maybe to the 3,000 level on the S&P 500, and that's going to put further down pressure on Bitcoin, because right now they're pretty correlated still, as we've been discussing. A good spot if you're looking to get to add on your HODL position, obviously the 200 period moving average is always a good spot. I don't care where Bitcoin is at, especially post-halving. I think a pullback to that makes a lot of sense. Now, keep in mind, we are heading toward below the 8,600 level. We do get into a volume void, and you know what happens in those. Price can move quickly through them. And I'm still looking at this area here. I think there's a good chance that we can retest this, what would be the 382 level at 7,900 or around 8,000. And keep in mind, if we did a 50% retrace of this current up move from, let's say, the crash lows from when the market and everything else rolled over, then we would be looking at tagging the low 7,000s. Now, I think that price post halving is a tremendous discount. I think that you would you'd have to get into some long-term transactions for your long-term stash on Bitcoin at those levels. If you look at the grouping here on the stochastics, now this can group together and go lower a bit, but just keep in mind what happens when we do get those nice tight groupings, similar to what we saw here, leads into a basing and then takes off. I believe we could see similar with Bitcoin. People will probably start getting bearish in here, especially if the overall market starts to roll over, but that's going to be probably the last time you get a pullback at those prices, and you'll see stuff that you'll never look back upon again. And I think it could be very similar to what we see here as far as how this plays out. But again, those tight groupings usually, like here, you see it also here, leads into a base, and then you see a fairly big move out of that base. So just bear that in mind when the stochastics are grouping like that. So we're not there yet, but I do think that that's shaping up to be a possible setup here, and awesome long-term buying possibility. Just real quick on the fundamentals, I would say watch out. If we do push up here, I think you're going to run into a lot of resistance right now into the 9180 area of Bitcoin. Funding went negative on BitMEX, and when funding goes negative, you'll see three times here, but the last two, you'll notice what happens. We push up into areas of prior resistance, and then we reject. Here's another time we went into negative funding. That means people are shorts are getting overweight, right? And the potential there is that if you start pushing up against those shorts, they get short squeeze, and what do they have to do? They have to buy to get out of their position, and you get a pretty strong push up. And again, this one pushes up and gets right back into this prior area of balance here, and what happens? We reject back out of it. So here we are again. So the area you'd be looking for, this is the previous area of balance here, right? This whole area here. So we could see a push up into this level here around 92.50 or so, and then look for a rejection. I do think that these lows here will probably get a test. That's at 8,834. I would not be surprised to see price dip down in there. So I know I'm sounding a little bearish right now. It is not uncommon to go down post halving, and you kind of just have this downward drift. What the key there is going to be is the consolidation, where it comes down this part here where we consolidate for a bit, and then we come back up out of that. So this is going to be like your key last area to accumulate before these prices are gone forever. Okay, so that's the current outlook on Bitcoin. So I wouldn't stress too much about the price going down, especially if you're long-term holding. This is kind of par for the course and to be expected. I know people think, with all the money printing and the money sloshing around in the system, that we should be just taking off right now. I think that that's definitely going to come, but there's some dynamics unique to the Bitcoin's price action that play out, especially post halving, that this is going pretty par for the course right now. So just keep things in context is all I'm saying. All right. So that's about it for this video. That's what I'm seeing on Bitcoin. Again, I think any pop up here running back into this resistance area should be a sell initially and a rejection. And I think these downside wicks are probably going to be targets to be rated on any down move. So don't freak out if you see price go down there. That's all that's happening right now. And then if price develops lower, we'll cover it. We'll do another video. We'll cover that. But for right now, these downside targets are probably more likely going to get tagged in the coming days. As far as alt season goes, keeping an eye. I think we got one last push in there. We're getting very close to when alts usually take a break and kind of coast out through summer and into fall. Have an eye on 0x. I think this might have one last nice surge up before it's all said and done. And there's some other ones that are shaping up as well. So just bear in mind that you don't want to be too overexposed on alts right now, because we're getting pretty late in the season, as we showed you in that last video. So just something to keep in mind there on the altcoins side. All right, guys. Well, that's it for this video. I hope it helps. We really appreciate you guys viewing us and your continued support. Please hit like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. I'll see you on the next video. And again, if you're interested, check out special number 1, special markdown price, $2.99. Get it while it's hot. All right, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Trade Genius.